Are we live? We're live. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, and good night. Let's turn this on. Yeah! Happy Easter, everybody. I'm feeling a little bit better. I hope you're feeling good. Take a look here real quick at what we got going on. And it doesn't look like there was any Easter messages inside of the game. Sometimes we see little things happen. I have not experienced anything. This is only my second month of playing this game or so. So, yeah, it looks like kind of the usual routine. We did get a reset on our our weekly tile over here. So we're going to get a lot more experience towards the Mastery Pass, and we should be able to drive up the Mastery Pass, like up a level, maybe to this one today, depending on how well we win. We do need to cast 20 blue or green spells to get 500 gold. And we are kind of close to the ability to double jump in because this is 750. But let's see if we can't goose that just a little bit more. And we didn't. But that's okay. Red or green spells is the name of the game today. So looking at our deck, red and green, we have Burn and Fax. Big Game Hunt is one of the ones that they gave us as far as decks are concerned. So what does Burn and Fax look like? I don't know. It looks like just high quality cards. Oh, that's right. We had Maria and we wanted to try to build a deck around her. And this was our idea. So the non-creature spells, right? We've got 1, 2, 3, 4 different cards that all set that up. Are going to help us make the mana form Hellkite create the illusions that go after him. On the flip side of it, we have all these artifacts which are designed to maybe make our Teething Wormlet. As long as you control 3 or more artifacts, he gets Death Touch, and then he gets whenever an artifact ETBs, he gets things. We've got a couple of bodies in here that aren't artifacts, but they are red and green, and they are pretty solid. And then we've got a couple of different what looks like artifacts that turn into creatures, and then this is just to pump the Spellforge. So kind of an artifact theme up here, kind of a burn, spell removal artifact entry theme down here. This is an artifact as well. The other artifact that you would want to look at would be that Reinforced Ronin that kind of bounces in and bounces out, bounces in and bounces out. But so does the Magmatic Sprinter, and I think it does a little bit more on the the Forge. So we're going to keep it just like this and take a look and see how it goes. If we, in a pinch, we can definitely cast the Root Wire at the lower line. We can definitely cast the Iron Crusher in this at the lower line. So even though our curve looks really, really high, we're not going with We're not going with any extra mana to than the 24, which is kind of like having 16 in limited. That's not the most exciting place to be. But let's see. If we can pull a win off with this, I'd be happy. Ooh. Oh yeah, the metagame is new. All right, back to this. You got to hear me go, ooh, ooh. Burn and Fax, right? I kind of like it. It's sort of tight in its build. Ideally, you have a Forge on turn 3. Ideally, if you don't have a Forge on turn 3, maybe you get the Megalo's Maze Crusher or something else that gives you a lot of board presence. We got 2 different colored lands, and not a lot to do until turn 4. We got a turn 1, and then we can, on turn 2 and turn 3, sort of burn them out. So we're going to keep. We'll start here, go here next, and then consider a Braid depending on what they play. We did get our 3rd mana, though. We're feeling strong. All attack. Haha, we're on the board. Alright, opponent's like, what did I run into? I'm just sitting here trying to ramp with my mono green deck. And ramp we do with a ramping saga that ramps. Nothing to burn here. We will be throwing down this 2 or fewer land so we don't get punished. And then we're just all attacking again. And oh, what a lead. What a lead. When Azusa's Many Journey transforms, we will definitely either a Braid or flame it. Probably a Braid since we don't have the Rabbit Battery attached to anything. If we can cast something that affects the board. Well, now we switched over to blue, and we're definitely still ramping here. I got targets for both of my removal spells at this point. And one's going to be showing up on the next turn. I just think I keep going. Scary, though. 5 total mana out. He is just completely ramped his way into wherever he's at this moment. And they're in the positive side. What? We'll just get rid of that. There's no reason. Yeah. I don't think that was part of your success strategy. It's just a bonus, right? Is this really what you're going to use your protection spells on? It's funny if you do, but... So it's still opponent's turn, which means that like he's looking for an attack phase, but he doesn't really have anything showing up to attack yet. It was a little preemptive to utilize this Abrade and get rid of that, because who knows what he's going to cast with all this mana, but we'll find out. Organ Hoarder lets him draw a card. Certainly not the ramp target that he was going towards. I think I would rather face an Organ Hoarder with 2 toughness than an Azusa's Minion Journey with 3. So you're going to see me sort of take a hold here. This is a 3/3 that trades with one of his, and it heals us on the way up. And I think that that's probably the best answer for right now. And we're not going to attack. It would just be sacrificing Rapid Battery. So attaching the Rapid Battery to the Boulder Golem gives him a 4/4 stat line, and that's pretty strong when you're facing things that hit you with 3. So that's almost definitely what we're going to do. We'll have the extra mana to do it. Okay. That's another ramp card. I'm getting a little nervous. So then the question becomes, I think we just take the 3 damage. Yeah. Screen? Okay. Oh boy. You are not okay. Okay. So things we could do, right? We can't really attack in on this turn. So I think the things that we can do are to put the Teething Wormlet down and to toss the oh my gosh, something terrible is happening to my screen. I apologize, opponent, I just can't see. I think we're just gonna, I think we gotta carry flame something. We gotta minimize his board stats. I do not know what's going on here. I don't know. I don't know. You can probably tell from the flashing what's going on my side. The screen just keeps turning on and turning off, turning on and turning off, and it's making it impossible for me to be able to see what's going on. It's like the 10th to 12th time it's done it in this turn. And if it doesn't turn on soon, we're not going to be able to get the chance to throw the card that we're looking to do. I think we'll just throw this, and I think we just attach this. Just do it now before we get a chance to die. And we say next, and we say no, and we say end. I could have cast that in order to try to remove the Blossom Prancer 1/1, but I'd rather leave it on him and continue to keep the board presence going in hopes that I can kind of force him to make a mistake. At this moment right now, I don't see him attacking with the Blossom Prancer just yet. We never know. Sorry, I really think that he's mad now because of the fact that we yeah, that was on me. I think he's just mad because we kind of roped. Well, well, well. Look at your carefully cultivated cultivation. That's definitely going to make life a lot harder for us. Yeah. Gonna throw this down. And as crazy as this sounds, we need 3 total mana to equip this to get +2 over here. That's only going to make it a 6. So I think we just send this guy in. If he wants to make a trade with the Organ Hoarder, I think we're okay with that, because it lets us start to double block things on the way in with the Blossom Prancer. And that's going to be a lot harder for him to deal with. If it doesn't, it's fine. We just get 2 extra damage. This is scary. So we could use a burn spell because what we could do is Boulder Golem, take the Blossom Prancer block, and then burn it to the ground. That would be ideal. Okay. So we are thinking 5 damage, man. Whew. What do you want to lose? I think we send both of these two in. Okay? I mean, essentially we're delivering the same amount of damage as what would have happened otherwise. So he doesn't take the bait, and this is totally fine here for us because we can just take this and attach it to this as a 6/4. And we can go end turn here. This will be a 5/5 when it 6/6 when it shows up. Oh my gosh, there's a 7/7. I think we're probably toast at this moment. We just didn't make enough progress in the early part of the game. We never got the forge. We never got the Hellkite. He's getting rid of our piece of equipment. Like, we're getting picked apart. It's not good. It's not good. We'll go past the blocker, and we'll take the block, and we'll say 1 block, and we remove him, just so that we get 1 massive threat out of the way. Right. Next, we're going to bring you up here, and we'll also attach this, I think, just to create some kind of presence for the 4/4. And tap and untap non-token artifact you control to add a green mana. So it essentially creates a mana, like turns an artifact into a mana dork. I don't see any way for us to win this. There's nothing we can do, unfortunately. There's just, these threats are all way too big. And the value train just keeps arriving. Bomb after bomb after bomb. Like, whew. Nothing we can get done here. We're dead. That's okay. We're playing cards. Red and green cards, which is what we're trying to do. Unfortunately, that's the block. Man really likes these Organ Hoarders, and I'm so curious. I guess it gives him a chance to draw a creature card like one of these bombs in order to create the environment that he's got right now. There's nothing. There's no purpose to this. Yeah, we're just going to concede because we're out of cards to play, and the only thing that we're going to accomplish is delaying the inevitable. This is just going to destroy our entire board if we try to survive, and if we don't, we die. So tough, but way too much value in some of these rare cards that we saw come out at the top of the line. Mythic and rare cards galore. Yeah, even a match. So the big failure in our deck is the fact that it didn't provide any mid-game value, and it didn't provide any control value. It's kind of built like an aggro deck, but it doesn't dish any damage out if you don't get any of the cards that do damage, right? Well, whether we're talking about the Forge or whether we're talking about the Hellkite, even like some of the other bigger threats like the Boulder Branch Golem, like, you know, if you can avoid throwing that out until you get it big enough, then at least you can kind of keep up in that mid game. And that's just something we couldn't do. We didn't see any of it. And again, we've got a situation here where we don't have any value beyond turn 2. And so it's a little scary to accept these kinds of hands. A little bit. It's not saying it's like a guaranteed problem, but the burn is only effective in the first 5 or 6 turns before you start to get to like 6 and 7 blank mana bodies. But we get lucky beyond belief with Mirror Basket Forge, and that is going to be that mid-game value we're looking for. That kind of damage production. He's on turn 3. He didn't have a turn 1 or turn 2 play. He does have a Xander's Lounge, so what looked like Slowland City has turned into something very, very different. That's pretty impressive to have the grade on call. I guess we're doing these two. We'll get a Maze Crusher out there, and we've got nothing but burn on him now. Gosh, ideally we get one more land, and then we can double spell. Something big's coming, though. If you say so. I got nothing to burn, so we might as well attach over to here. And we might as well use a 2-2. And what the heck, we'll just use one more 2 for the fun of it, and then say I'll attack. We've got one more +2/+2 modifier that we can put on this thing, and I think there's no reason for us not to. Here comes a burn spell. I mean, he's got something. There's a priority on it. Yeah, see. I knew it was coming. He's playing some weird control deck, but he's got like the cleave and the, you know what I mean, like some of the older ones. This sucks. We need a threat again. He's taken out both of those mid-game damage threats, and it's maddening. Like, we're back to being able to do 1 damage a turn again, without the ability to do anything to him again. We should probably consider taking these braids out and turning them into something else, right? If we turn them into, is this an artifact? No, it's an enchantment. It's a over-the-top, incredibly expensive enchantment. Don't worry, we can't draw anything that does damage. I mean, I would take a splitter, an Alamagram, Hellcat, like literally anything from this line down. The only thing that's going to cause me a problem is if I get it from this line up. So over half of our deck. Oops. Spider got a little bit strange. So we're going to rope him just a touch, and then we can destroy his little artifact. Dude, what is up with the never-ending line of burn and nothing in the creature side of things? What is that like? I don't even know what turn we're on, but we've taken 6. 1, 2, 3. I mean, we got him in the beginning, and then the last 4 cards have used the best land or burn spells. Like, yeah. It's so weird, but like this is the second time that we've been put into a situation where the game has decided to put us against a guy who doesn't cast creatures because we have a bunch of anti-creature spells. It's like, oh, you built your deck this way? We'll make sure you're only going up against the thing that you can't beat. And that makes no sense to me. Like, how do you do that game where you're like trying to destroy somebody's game? Like, that is not fun. That's not how we want to play. I don't get it. Just make it random. That's all I'm asking. Not this. This is stupid. This is just so stupid. I'm just quitting this thing because I've already pissed this guy off and I can't get the draws that I needed at the timeline that I need it. He gets an arcane bombardment down. I mean, at that point, it's over. I just don't want you to constantly try to frustrate me. There has got to be a better way to balance what's going on inside this like matchmaker, not to try to find the antithesis of what you're trying to do every single time you play. Like this, just don't do that. Like, here, have all that burn again and nothing else. Like, it did it again. That's just nuts. I don't get you. Whatever Wizards of the Coast thinks they've got, it is terrible. It is like hands down the worst feeling in the game. And it's like if you make a game that's not fun to play, how long do you expect people to play it? I know it's a 30-year-old game, but the algorithm isn't 30 years old, right? Like the thing that this game relies on isn't 30 years old. Okay, so we'll know if we're in serious trouble here in just a second, because we'll see some kind of, that's fine too. We'll see some kind of anti, you know, like a braid, like some kind of anti-artifact heat come up pretty soon here. But we do have our backup forge, and we do have a splitter, so if we can pull a land, we're going to pull these two off the top. This is definitely the go wide approach. We didn't, so we're just going to go with stacking value on value. He just quit. He said, good game. I feel sad about that, but he probably doesn't have the answer to the Urabrask Forge anymore. Okay, we don't have the land to cast the other two artifacts, so we'll just do that and click next. All attack. We're going to swing for 7. We will be swinging for 2 more, so that's 9. So we're not swinging for, well, we are swinging for lethal actually on the next turn if he decides to all attack. Okay, that will be a blocker, which is an important part of this process here. He can put the +1 on the Darling of the Masses if he wants to make sure that it survives. He just gains 2 life instead. We're going to block. Yeah. We're just blocking here. He does have a trick, and if he uses it, that's great. But it isn't like the end of the world amount of damage, and we will be swinging for the end of his world amount of damage. Would love to see something. A land gives us 2 more cards. A card that's under 3 and under gives us that. So the worst thing that we could pull is now the thing that we were rooting for when we had all the mana in the world, and that's not bad. Everybody's untapped at this point, so we're probably not doing great on the swings, but Rebel Salvo is large enough that it's going to take out the toughest to kill kind of thing, right? Then we go next. Nothing can swing for too much to kill either of our 2 creatures that are out there. And so there's not a lot of reason to fear. Just doing an all swing attack. End turn. Pass. So the crackback is threatening 5 currently, or 4 currently. And, you know, that's... I think he'll take the life. Resolve. Yeah. So if we get a land, we can just hang back and send in the other guys that way, because we're getting our life like very, very low. Although that, I don't know, the Halo Fountain's gonna untap some things here. 6, 7. We won't be swinging for 14, and so we really, really, really want this land at this point, because we really want to get our life total up enough that we can just send in our forges. Okay, so we carry Flame out the Gallic Readers, just because it's providing way too much value for what's going on. And unfortunately, there's nothing that we could do with this, I don't think. No. that's just going to tap everything. And we don't want any of that to happen. So we click next. And we send these two flowing. I think that's game. I think we lost. Because even if I throw this out, I'll get the 3 health out, but I will lose. I don't even know how that works, but let's just try it just to see. So it's kind of the same blocking situation that we were in before, but at least we've got 3 more health. So we can let something get by, like we can let 2 things get by, and we'll still survive. So ultimately that turned out to be pretty good, and it might be just enough. We'll see. He's got 1 card on deck. Opponent decides to pick which one he's going to use his removal spell on, or maybe he's going to throw a... Yeah, see? Renew... I mean, why wouldn't he have the only thing he needs to win the game? Yeah, good game. Yep. We just concede at this point because he's got 6 damage and we don't have the ability to block it anymore. We tried, but there you go. Not sure what we could have done different except draw our 3rd land by turn 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. I mean, we couldn't get... We started with 3 lands and we never drew 1. Not 1. Like, that's gonna hurt. That means that we don't get the kind of board presence at a time. We have to pass a turn or 2, just not affecting the board, and that's game usually. Like, you can't under what Wizards has done by lowering like the threshold, you know, you're dead by turn 4, you're dead by turn 4, you're dead by turn 4. So if everybody's dead by turn 4, you can't miss anything. Otherwise, you're dead by turn 4. Like, there's no like taking a turn off. There's no, oops, I'm sure it'll be fine. I'm sure we can come back. I'm sure we can restabilize after we took a bounce spell or we took a removal spell. But no, there just isn't. There's no way to do it. They have really, really, really frustrated the experience in this game so that it doesn't ever, unless you're playing limited, it just doesn't feel like you're playing Magic anymore. It feels like you're playing some beat your head against a brick wall and hope that the wall falls down before you. And it's just stupid. I really hate the Phyrexia All Will Be One standard. It has not been fun, and it is maddening to do. All right, Cutthroat gives us the Vran, which we already have 4 of, and the Drivnod, which we're not really looking for. And the Globetrotting gives us the Voldarian Mindsinger and the Sphinx of the Clear Skies. Neither one of those. They're kind of old, domain mechanic that doesn't seem to be coming back in anything that I've seen so far. So I don't think that Globetrotting is worth grabbing. And yeah, this one definitely has some cards in the new set that are available because they're very, very powerful, but we don't need to go down that road and take a 4th or Vran, like that's not good. So we'll take Recruits. It's the Defiler of Faith. It's the white Defiler, which lets us put +1/+1 counters when we make our spells like a Phyrexian mana to cost. So all of that's really pretty solid. I'll take it. Under Tech, we can get another Teething Wormlet or a Clay Champion, both of which are pretty solid. That is the artifact deck that we had just kind of built. Enchants is the enchantment deck, and it really seems like enchantments have gotten like sort of a breath of fresh air brought back into them, and we would get really strong Weaver of Harmony, which gives everything +1. It's kind of the Lord of the Enchantments, or the Kami of Transience, which is the best one. The cool thing about the Weaver of Harmony, though, is for 1 mana you get to copy another step of an enchantment that's about to go off and have it happen again. There are some enchantment steps that are really powerful, sometimes overpowered on there, and I think that there's a really cool deck to be built with the Weaver of Harmony that I've never done. And then finally we have Balanced. Balanced is artifacts and enchantments, and what Balanced has is the Soul Transfer, which is a removal spell that requires you to have 1 of each on the board, and then you get to pull a card out of the graveyard back to your hand, and you get to remove something off the deck for them. So I'm going to take Enchanting over here because I really do like an enchantment deck. I think that there's a lot more creativity to be had in the enchantment side of playing this. And we got the Kami of Transience, which was the stronger of the two. This is a trampler that just keeps coming back every time you play an enchantment. So you can play it out early without fear that it's going to die, because when it dies, it's just the next enchantment away, back in your hand kind of thing. It's also, whenever other enchantments come in, it gets the +1, kind of like how this one puts a +1 on something when other enchantments come in. So these are definitely nice little engines to keep on the board if you get an opportunity to, and that puts you in a pretty good spot to build up a bigger threat at the end. Enlist is a mechanic that lets you, like, when you're attacking, you can take a non-attacking creature, tap them, put their stuff onto you, and then go. So if you've got a little guy who's not able to attack because of his toughness, but you've got a guy over here who's got the toughness, you can kind of combine the two cards for a 3/3 attack instead of a 1/3 and a 2/1. That might lose you one. An enchantment, not my favorite one, but one that can be powerful. It puts a +1 counter, and you get to create a bird. So theoretically, if we'd had the other one, we could have created 2 birds, or we could get 2 +1 counters, both of which would be pretty solid. And then a 2/3 flyer that whenever another creature enters the battlefield under your control, it gets +1 until the end of the turn. It's kind of like a prowess, but for creature cards. Harmonious Emergence is a good value. So is this as the channel spell. I like it better as like the 2-mana instant. Are we not allowed to? We're not even allowed to reorganize or move. Defiler of Faith was the one we knew we were going to get. As an additional cost to cast this spell, you get to pay 2 life. This effect reduces the amount of white mana, and then when you cast it, you get a white soldier. I was wrong. It's not. So we got a lot of token soldiers coming out the door here, right? Tokens. Yeah, that's probably it. We do have these basic plains lands, so Runic Shot can get pretty big. And what's the kicker give us? The Scry 2. So if the blue ends up being available in there, we'll definitely play it. I hate having 4 slow land or 5 slow lands, so like a third of our lands are slow. And that's definitely going to prove to be a problem down the road. But what I see here is not a lot of power, but a lot of go wide kind of ability. So we'll be not aggro, but we will be hard to get to. And we'll go from there. Come on, Easter. Volcomemes. Alright, so we do have both colors of land, and we do have some things to do on turn 2. So we'll start here. Boop. We will ramp. There's nothing going on here. He's got a slow land out. We'll play this out. We'll put our 3rd land. He does another nothing here. This is a 1/1 that puts a +1 on something, and this is a 1/3 that enlists with vigilance. This is a stronger card, I guess, is what I'm trying to say. I can drop the 1/1s on the backup agent over here. Would like to get one more land, preferably a white one, then I can double spell on the next turn. Okay. So now the question is it worth putting the +1 on the Likeness of the Seeker, or is it worth putting the +1 on the Banalish? I think it's probably worth putting the +1. Why won't it let us play this? Oh, because that's flash and this isn't. That makes more sense. I was like, I just played 1 card, that's it. I'll put it on the Banalish Faithmonger. I think it becomes a much harder to kill, better blocker, and I think that the enlist capability allows that to really take off and become, you know, like a 5/3 attacking in kind of thing. Harmonious Emergence is available on the next turn. So is the Blossom Prance Seeker. I do dig the enlist capability here. I think that that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to hold the Resolute Reinforcements as a removal spell, I guess, and run the risk of using none of my mana. Oh, that sounds weird. I don't like that. I think I will do the Blossom Prancer. We'll do the Enlist first. That just gave us, you know, something kind of steady Eddie there. And then we'll throw this 4/4 out there. Take a look and see what it grabs. So we do get a Favor of Jukai, and we do get a Phalanx. Probably just take the Phalanx at this point. We have a lot of creatures. It's an amazing rate of return for 2 mana for a 4/4. We get double spell again. Okay, that's definitely going to be a little frustrating. But with only 2 damage available, he would be trading something to sell out against the Blossom Prancer. That's really interesting. I'm not so sure what that was all about. Okay, so I think we do this next. Oh. We are definitely ahead, right? Because he doesn't really have the... I mean, he could attack with that guy in, but we're going to have a really large and wide ground force, which is pretty incredible considering the nature of his deck is to just go wide. But it looks like he's got it partnered up with something like, you know, toxic-y strategy kind of deal. So we get the win. We get the experience because of the weekly. We get the Hayward Might. There is 2 versions of it. Whenever you see this second version pop up, you just got to pay attention to the fact that it's an alchemy card, and then you can kind of see the differences, right? So both 1 mana in cost, both have the same lines all the way here, except right here. You gain 2 life or you gain 3. Otherwise, it's the same sacrifice in order to take out a exile a target non-creature artifact or non-creature. This one says sacrifice it, exile non-target artifact or non-creature. Yeah. So this is just kind of taking out the stuff that's on the sideboard along with it. Okay, so we got some green enchantment cards that maybe we could take a look at these mossy enchantments over here. I don't know why it says black, because this looks like solid green. But we did pick up our 3rd Kami of Transience, which is pretty awesome. We have a lot of this. Both enchantments, I guess, both pretty good. This is an instant, but it's a removal spell. Do we have other Contaminator? No. Do we have this armor? No. These are pretty scary stuff up here at the top. We do have more Tanukis if we wanted. I'm not so sure the Rolling Earth, as powerful as it is, it's kind of... Well, let's put it this way. I'm going to play it. Let's just take a look and see. This kind of feels like overkill as well. Gwenna does help us get there a turn early on Thrun, and it does help us get there 2 turns early on Titan. So maybe it's not, because I do think that these are pretty scary stuff up here at the top. We just have to survive long enough to make that happen. So do we have enough people on the bottom to do that? And the answer is yeah. Yeah, I think we do. I think we consider getting rid of like one of these and one of these. And I think that that's good. So let's see if Mossy Enchantments holds any value. What was the other rare card that we got? The Defiler. Will the Defiler make any of our decks better? It's going to help us create a board state when we cast white creatures for slightly cheaper. So white creature for slightly cheaper, white creature for slightly cheaper, white creature for slightly cheaper. And we do already have the Defiler of Flesh sitting in here. The Take Up the Shield is probably the least valuable card in here. And we can go with the Defiler. There'll be 2 of them, hopefully, that pop up here. We can put the Defiler of Faith. We have 2 copies of that. Ooh. Okay, okay. So I'm seeing some good things here. What do you think? we're ramping to Kaya's. We're ramping to Steel Seraph. And we're gaining some board state along the way. We are paying some life, paying some life, paying some life. We are not gaining enough life until we get to Kaya, Lysa, Gix, Steel Seraph. Okay, so this is where we gain our life back, and this is part of the I'm going to cost you some life crew. This will help us gain a lot of life too. We don't have any extra of those, do we? So, I dig it. Planeswalker draw got a lot stronger with 2 Defilers. As far as power level goes, it may not play tempo-wise the way we want it to. We'll start with the enchantment deck, though, and see if we've improved it in any way, shape, or form. It was kind of hit or miss before. That's what I would say. It would, like, sometimes get an opportunity to do well, and this kind of thing sometimes happens too, where like we have nothing going on, and if he doesn't play an artifact or an enchantment, this removal spell is worthless. We could do nothing for 4 turns. This is much better. Would probably just been the Glorious Sunrise because it's way down the road. Not that it's a bad card, it's just really far down the road. Audacity is a nice way to pump up our Generous Visitor into a 4/2 because it'll get a +1/+1 going from 1/1 to 2/2, and then it gives +2, and then if that creature gets destroyed, it gives us back a card. So then the question is, I think that double spell is worth a lot more than anything that I know of, right? So we do this, and we'll do this. We'll just boost up 1 really big, and then all attack. Now, we have the Kami of Transience next, which I think is definitely the right play. Hey, what do you know? Get a card back. We knew that was coming. And we got another Kami of Transience. How interesting. So we'll do this. And we'll see what happens next. It's not a legendary creature. You can put multiple ones out there. I guess we're going with control. No creature control. Like, oh yeah, we've seen this before. Unfortunately, this thing just destroys an artifact or an enchantment. It can definitely get rid of the Phyrexian guy, but we need the black mana to do it. And the chances of us drawing that black mana are just none at this point. We're already dead. Because we would need it twice, and that's just not going to happen. So we're just going to concede. I don't understand sometimes how, or what are we supposed to do there, you know? Like, only carry removal spells because that's the only way to survive that kind of card, and only have the kind of removal spells that green can't have. You know, it's got to have the black aspect to create that kind of non-land permanent, super expensive. Okay, I get it, I get it. There's only one way through, and it ain't the way we got. Alright, DJ Scoops. Ooh, it's another bad hand. Nothing going on here for a long time. We did get the Deathcap Blade this time, which could eventually make the Terra Sunder pretty strong, but how do you get there? I mean, we need to draw land at this point. Sure, since we got nothing going on. It is an artifact. This does get rid of artifacts. Nope. Still can't get a castable card. We might as well. I'd like to get a lot more value than getting rid of a walking bulwark. Alright, we're dead again because of the ramp. This thing is just going to ramp his way all the way up and leave us with nowhere to go. Yeah. Oh, but it was worth it. On the positive side, the Boseijus are going to be pretty decent bodies. So there are some things that are just going to kill us. If he's got the 4 mana right now to throw the Phyrexian guy that would kill us. But we can't do anything about that in the sky until this shows up. So we got a little bit of a problem there. You're amazing. That helps. Just gives us some reason to make him not attack. Did I forget to throw the land that turn? No. No, I had gotten the 2. Yeah. Pretty sure we're dead now. This card by itself can win the game. So that puts us in a pretty bad spot. We do have enough mana to do this. Yeah, I kind of dig that. We'll draw 2 more. We spell here again. We do this to see if it can survive a first striker. We get that extra one out, and we say no to the attacks. We're just building up the strongest board we know how. Next, we can do... This is an enchantment, right? No, it's a spirit cleric. Ugh. 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 Titan of Industry is going to help because we can use it to destroy an artifact or enchantment, but that's not the greatest use of it. The Terra Sunder is the card that we really want to do. We really want to use it on the Voice of the Blessed. That is the scariest of the cards. Once during each of your turns, you can play a land from your graveyard or cast a permanent spell with mana value 3. The problem is there's no cards in his graveyard, so getting rid of this is not completely effectual. Meanwhile, the Voice of the Blessed just keeps getting bigger and bigger and bigger, and that's going to prove to be a problem. So we will be attacking with our Thrun, who is can't be the target of non-green spells, non-green sources, and as long as it's your turn, he's indestructible. So he's going in on the next one, for sure. We probably should have pushed him on the last one too, but that's okay. That's 5, 6, 7. This is 8. That requires 7. So we won't be able to do anything about the Voice of the Blessed, but double Titan of Industry is just... I mean, it's just kind of ridiculous at this point. So we could put a shield counter on our creature or gain the 5 life. I think we would just probably do this and destroy or shield counter. Let's put a shield counter on somebody. Let's put a shield counter on yeah. And then we're just going to attack with these 2. Yeah. Blocking the Thrun doesn't make a lot of answer, but not blocking anything is stranger. So what's he threatening? 1, 2, 3, 4, 6, that's 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15. So he's threatening 15 total damage right now. And like, there's not a lot of reasons for us to worry about this as far as damage consumption is concerned. Right, we're going to get a quit right now. Do we keep the Voice of the Blessed? He got so much life, right? Like, just get rid of that. And we might as well throw that out there. Go for it. Okay, so unlike the last game where we couldn't come up with any offense whatsoever, on this game we've gotten way too much offense. But that's okay. You can kind of see, like, in the mid-game, if you can develop out a board with this hand, it's great, especially with these two 8/8s, you know, showing up. This 7/7 with a 4/4 that heals you 5 on the back end is pretty nice too. I feel like this is a rope at this point, because there's just no mana, not a lot of decisions to be had here. We're currently threatening 13, 14, 15, 19. He can block the 7, and he can block the... See, and that's not the block that you'd want to do, right? Because it's not going to actually stop anything more than 2 damage. So you're letting a 7/7 go by in order to stop 2 damage. Stop the full 7/7 on the whole way down. And that's just weird. I think we're swinging for lethal. I'm not good at math, but last time I checked, 14 or 16, 22, 25, 20, 30, yeah, 34. I don't know, whatever. They're 46. Whoops. 39. These are all cards coming from Kamigawa over there. So are these. Twin Blade Geists. Such fun. We got it. Oh, I really wanted to attack. Okay, so the frustration on his side for sure. We did get a lot of value out of every card that we played, and the ramp did get the opportunity to develop. So when it develops, it's amazing, and when it doesn't, it is frustrating, because you just, if you don't draw those cards at the top of the curve, you don't have anything to do. And I do think we don't have enough of these cards at the top of the curve. We could go check out what other cards we've got that we could add to it. Hello, you two. We've missed you. I kind of like these as well, but it's okay if we don't play them. Alright, so if we were going to add those two, we could probably remove these removal spells. They're not necessary once these things hit the deck, and they're only good once these things hit the deck, so they're kind of like a weird card. They don't really provide what I'm hoping to provide in there. Okay, so that strengthens up the position on the creature count, and it makes it, you know, we had 2, 3, 4, I want to say like 4 bombs that would have done it, and now we've got 4, 5, 6. So we've added 50% to our chances of drawing one of those larger bomb creatures, and that is usually the difference between winning or losing in a game like that. Okay, we have done all of this for the most part, and I don't think that we are going to head very far down that road towards getting the next pack just right now. And so we're going to call it a short stream and take an end right there. And, you know, just to recap, we were able to go do one jump in, right? And in the jump in, we were able to pick up some enchantment creatures. We actually got two really solid ones that we were looking for. One Generous Visitor and one Kami of Transience. There is also, I think we had 4 copies of this already, but if we didn't, these are both pretty good in there. And yeah, I'm not excited about any of these other cards for the most part, but good enough. On the flip side of that, the other pack, we got the Defiler of Faith, which we were able to add to one of our cards that has a Kaya in it to try to help reduce the cost of Kaya, get her out there more consistently, more often. The rest of this stuff is kind of filler, except Resolute Reinforcements. It's a really powerful card. You can use it as a removal spell because you can throw the 2 bodies out there and then have them double block with the flash. And so out of nowhere, you're just like flashing in. And 2 mana as a removal spell or 2 mana as a board presence is way more powerful than it looks. We saw the Banalish Faith Bonder in action with the Enlist, and that was kind of cool. And then we got these yucky lands. So we picked up enough to say that, like, we made some progress on our decks, we made some progress on the Planeswalker draw, and we made some progress on the Mossy Enchantments. I still think that the Traxxas Treasures might be the more favorite of all of these decks that I've got, because it's just kind of fun to like ramp towards these goals. These, we're like barreling towards these 5. So if I'm looking to play a ramp deck, I'm still looking at doing it this way, with creatures on the board that can dish out some damage, with the ability to make some fun decisions and actually have some things, like getting the value out of this, getting the value out of this, getting the value out of this. These are all fun to me. Whereas the green ramp doesn't have a lot of fun built into it. It's just, did you draw the bomb? Did you draw the bomb? So Atraxas Treasure is still my ramp deck of choice, and this would be my second ramp style, and it's really just mono green ramp. This black is, it's just not really very indicative of it. Fire and Ice artifacts are kind of cool. We got some burn, and then we've got some engines, like right here, 1, 2, 3 engines to go along with some of this burn. And then we've got some top-end threats that are pretty cool. Tolarian Terror actually is going to get cast in this area because of all the different spells. We're kind of way more non-creature spells than creature spells. So Tolarian Terror is a really nice addition. It is only a common card. We can add extra ones to it, but the only thing I'd be willing to like part with at this point would be this, because this makes the engines pump really, really fast, especially the Fairy Vandal ones. And the Fairy Vandal card draw cleaning is going to make sure that you're allowed to do more of these kinds of spells on a two in a turn kind of deal. So I am just kind of a big fan across the board of Fire and Ice Facts. In fact, let's play one game with it and see how it rolls. It may not work. These engine-y decks are sort of dependent on the engine that you've got, whether it's the Vandal or it's the Urbusk Forge or whatever. But that's okay. If it doesn't work, it doesn't work. We have to mulligan that. We didn't have any land. We'll lose the burning down the house in hopes of drawing a land before we get to turn 3. That's not it. Take a little bit of damage here. That's not a land. So he can pop the Furnace Skull Bomb to put the 2 counters and buff whatever it is that we would be stopping. So he'd also get a card in return. It would kind of be like a 2-for-1. There's not a lot of reasons for us to do it. So he's going to attack in. He's touching the things that he wants to do that. It's kind of a mistake to do that up front, but we're going to let this go in hopes of drawing that land. And if we don't, we can Witness Protection out the Evolving Adaptive in order to just kind of take out the threat. So I'll take the 5 here and hope for the land. Get the land, but it's a slow land. So that means that in order to mitigate the damage, we have to do exactly what we talked about. I don't really care about about getting him at 1 damage in, and I'd rather block the Fuseling if he ends up using that Furnace Bomb to put the +2, because we've got to stop the damage at some point, right? If it's only 2 damage though, I'm okay with it. Man, we can't get. Oh yeah, we did get. I'm sorry. Whew. I was like, what the heck? The Forge makes us race, the Metatech makes us grow. We go with the Metatech as a blocker. Then we go next, we say all attack. That is going to cause us to clean through a card. I do think that I like the Forge more than anything else here. And that keeps us on pace with the land, which is nice. So that was a pretty nice stabilization. It just allows you to kind of do that on the reg, which is pretty good. If we can get 1 more land, we're going to be super happy, because then we're going to get a chance to forge and do an experimental augury. Yeah. Yeah. I'm just going to take the 5 damage here. I'm not... Okay, so we didn't, but we are down on the health side of things, and offense be damned at this point. We're going to have to clean out what's going on here, right? We can get rid of that too. Never mind. We don't have the cards to do that, because why would we? Oh, wait a minute. Definitely take the Kami's Flame over the Hexpress Slash, as we're starting to dish some damage now on our end of the equation. I do still like the Forge, but until we can stabilize, we have to take away some of their offensive threats, because we don't have enough mana, or we don't have enough life to just sit back and just kind of wait. One more mana that's red would allow us to double spell. I should have preferenced that before. Does he have a removal? Yep, okay. Yep. So, we obviously can't let that happen again, right? Because we're dead if we do. So, we've got to carry Kami's Flame no matter what. And we did get the mana, but we didn't get the color that we needed to. So, unfortunately, we're just going to have to get rid of that. On the positive side of things, almost all of his offense is gone. We don't have the life to be spent doing it this way. Oh, hello. Do we go with dropping the removal spell? I think we do. Yeah. I think we do this too. And I think we do this. And then we do this. And then we do that. Then we say end. It's been a fun game. We actually have a bit of a balance going on. And he doesn't have the answer. What? Little bit of Fairy Vandal Unctus for the win. And we just kind of picked apart his board. He didn't end up drawing anything that had the offense later on. He kind of drew the ramp cards on the late side of stuff. His small ball game was strong in the beginning. Put us behind the 8-ball, but flying creatures are flying creatures, dude. What are you going to do about that? Um, yeah, I think we just take the break right here. But pretty good. Like I said before, it's still one of my more favorite decks to play. So let's start putting some numbers on this, right? We're going to call this one number one ramp. Atrax's Horde. I like it. And then we're going to call this one, right? Number one spell, or number one non-creature spells. We'll just say like number one pump. Since that's kind of the nature, right? We're trying to build an enchantment pump. We're trying to build, that's fine. And then I think we're still using this as our number one ranked mono. And then Protect the Fae is kind of like Pump Fire and Ice. It's just not as good as the Fire and Ice one because it doesn't have that Urbresk Forge sort of deal. It's got instead this kind of drawing, go wide strategy, control. It's kind of built into it. These are both control cards designed to really slow down their side of things and get them to, you know, have to react. Oh, I guess I don't have that. I thought I did. Hulking Metamorph can be pretty cool copy of things. The Unctus Metatech is going to cause the card discards that the Raven Man's going to enjoy. And we do have 3 Raven Mans, so we can definitely do that. These are also going to allow us to draw extra cards, grow when we draw cards. And we do have 2 Anointers. So we can strengthen up some things in this deck here. We do have these 2 Hull Breaker Horrors, and I'm not so sure that there's a reason for them in here. In fact, I'm probably looking to remove them and for like get more interaction spells. Haughty Djinn, we do have another copy of as well. But the thing about this deck is, well, it's kind of even Steven, so okay. It's 2.6 on average, and it's 24 lands. So even though it doesn't look like it, it's actually geared down because you can cast this on the cheaper side of things. And so it's kind of like designed to just say, like, keep cycling the cards, pumping the Fairy Vandal, keep going wide with the Raven Man, and keep using these little slip out the backs, fake your own deaths, considered little tricks to give you some presence in the sky. This gives you some blockers on the floor, and this prevents their blocks from coming in. You can even take out all their go wide strategies as you pump your board, right? I actually kind of dig how this has gone up a bit. It's not 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. So we're not anywhere near like, oh my gosh, we're only going to go up against the craziest decks. Protect the Fae is just kind of the blue-black version of Pump Fire and Ice. And so instead of burning out some of those guys that were coming at us, the idea is you're using, like, you know, a Planeswalker to do it. So, okay. We'll end the stream there, but we'll give that Protect the Fae another shot now that we've got some extra cards like